let's throw this in there because you brought it up earlier and I didn't squeeze it in. What type of cancer were you battling the first time around? Is it the same thing rearing its head this time?
No, no. So the first time, I got to tell you a quick backstory. I don't want to get too long into it, but so I was on. It was 2012. I wasn't feeling good for. I hadn't been feeling good for a year and a half. Just every time I eat, I felt like shit. I was eating Tums and Gas X like it was going out of style. Went to Mayo Clinic like 9 times, stuck stuff in every orifice. They couldn't figure out what was going on, and did find out I had celiac disease, so I switched to gluten free, but that didn't fix the pain after I was eating stuff. So anyway, I was on a federal disaster medical team at the time, and I got orders to go to Nashville for some training, and went down there, and we're in the first day of training, ate lunch, had my typical, didn't feel good, so went and popped my Gas X and my Tums and sat back down, and I'm sweating up a storm and starting to have more abdominal pain. I thought, shit, something's not right. And I told the guy sitting next to me for my team, I said, I'm just going to go standing back. I'm a little tired, and I didn't want to tell him I didn't feel good. And I'm standing in the back of the room, and I mean, just the sweat's pouring off me. And it's like a dumbass. I go up to my room in the hotel, probably lucky I didn't just croak up there. And I came back down, and I went back to him, and I said, hey, could you send the doc back? And so he got the doc, and doc came back, and I told him what was going on. And I said, I think I got kidney stones. I said, I got this terrible pain in like my flanks. And he said, yeah, and he said, we should probably get you to the hospital and get you checked out. Well, I get there, and by now the pain's so bad, and they told me it's a 3-hour wait. Every sniffling nose in Nashville is there on a Monday afternoon. And so I'm like literally laying horizontal in a vertical chair in the waiting room because the pain is so bad. And I finally went back up, and I like threw myself over the desk, and I said, you're either getting me back there or I'm just going to go out front and call 911. They're bringing me in the back door because I know how this shit works. And, so they said, yeah, we're going to get you in. Well, they couldn't diagnose right away what was going on. So they sent me up to a room, and I remember clearly, and I'll first admit it, I laid in my room and I fucking cried because it hurt so bad. And I remember asking my nurse, Chris, I said, just have the doc come and put me on a ventilator, whatever, until you figure out what the hell's going on, because I just can't take this anymore. And next thing I know, it's like 3 a.m, and we are not running, but we're going with purpose down the hallway. I've got a surgeon in one ear, and I've got an anesthesiologist in the other ear, and they're talking about a perforated bowel. And I woke up in my room, and I had 44 staples in my belly. And turns out that I had perforated my bowel, which, that in and of itself has a 50% mortality rate just by itself. And, not to mention the fact that I'd been perforated for a while, and I think it just took them some time to figure out what was going on. And so I was in surgery. They had to put me on pressors. My blood pressure was in the tank, and I was pretty sick. And so I stayed in the hospital for 11 days down there. But while I was there, they also said that during surgery, they took out 17 inches of bowel, and then they found swollen lymph nodes in the back of my abdominal cavity when they were cleaning it out. And they told me, you definitely have cancer. We just need to figure out what kind. And they knew it was lymphoma. So turned out it was diffuse large B-cell lymphoma, and it had gotten into my small intestine. So it turns out that all that time when I wasn't feeling well for a year and a half, I was precancerous and or cancerous, and they just couldn't see it. There couldn't, lymphoma is a very hard thing to just find, so a lot of times it has to manifest itself like it did, where it impacts some other organ or, whatever. So I came back to Wisconsin and went to UW and did 5 months of chemo, and carried around did my chemo on a backpack over a week-long period. And then midweek, UPS would show up with my second bag of chemo, and I'd sit at my kitchen table and change it out. And I kept working when I could, but there were days where, it was 14 steps from my bed to the toilet, and it was all I could do to go 14 steps, some of those days. And but I blogged all through it. I look back and I still read that blog, and I tried to stay positive. I told everybody what I was going through, my emotions, what I was dealing with physically, and I've had countless numbers of people who have faced cancer since then that I've given that blog to, and they've read it and told me how much it helped them kind of be able to put into perspective what they were feeling and how they could maybe deal with it. And I beat it. I was cleared. And, once I hit that 5-year mark, it was, I thought it was smooth sailing. And all of a sudden, a little over 2 years ago now, bam, I get hit again. And so this time I have chronic myeloid leukemia. And, so no idea why. I mean, no family history of either one in my family. And I probably have a lot of risk factors. I was a firefighter before air packs were really a thing. I've stuck my head into a lot of burned out cars and probably breathed in a lot of stuff I really shouldn't have been. And I was a smoker for a while, and there's all kinds of things that are probably there as risk factors. But it's my story, so I guess I've got to continue to write it. And it's, it's just part of it.
It ain't over yet, goddamn it!
It ain't over yet. Nope, that's right.
And I'm gonna ask you when we post this thing, post a link to that blog in the comments.
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Man,
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've got some pictures in there. You can see me standing on my back deck holding my bag of chemo. It looked like Kool-Aid, so I called it my killer Kool-Aid. And but yeah, it was. During that whole thing, it was just, I talk about visualization. I just think that attitude, number one, attitude is such a huge thing with fighting cancer successfully, I believe. And so that was my first time through. That's why I stayed as positive as I did, is I thought, I'm just not going to let this fucking beat me. That's just the end of it. And that's it, and so I would visualize a lot. One of the things I was receiving was immunotherapy, and they told me that this immunotherapy was some kind of protein that they find in rat shit. I'm not kidding you. It's like this protein that they extract from rat poop. So, and they put it in the stuff and they inject in your body. So I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. And but I'm visualizing all these little rats driving around on little motorcycles in my bloodstream, and every time they'd come across a cancer cell, their big tail would come around and poof, pop that thing. And I'd lay in bed and visualize that thing, and it's like,
you're the first guy I've met who is genuinely full of shit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's a really moving
and proud of it,
Yeah. You should be. What's a little bit of belly is nothing compared to what you faced.
Yeah.
And I really just admire your grit and your persistence. A lot of people, they just give up and kind of say, well, son of a bitch.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is so I had a coworker shortly after I got cured, and I talk about really making you feel like shit. She got the same exact kind of cancer I had, same stage, same everything, and she's dead in 3.5 months. And you sit there and you wonder, how the hell does that happen? It's just, and I understand, I know enough about medicine to understand it's everybody's thing is different, and it's, but yeah, it's really it's a humbling thing to go through. When you do something like that, you really learn a lot about yourself, and but you also learn a lot about your friends. And I think that was one of the things that really kept me going was, I really, for the first time, had the time to stop and think about how many people I've impacted in my life, because I had former students of mine when I was teaching that, would reach out to me, and I had, I was working part-time on an ambulance service who, had uniform shirts made that were lime green in color, or the color of lymphoma, and, had the logo on it with my number in the center of it. And they'd wear those every day that I was going for chemo. That was their uniform of the day. And, they had wristbands made. They had, people had stuff done at the college, and, just hundreds of people that would be reaching out to me. And, that kept me
not surprised by that, Rick, at all. Yeah, because even though you're a Richard, but you're certainly not a Dick. So for people to, for those people to love and support you too, is not the least bit surprising to me.
Yeah, but it's sad that it takes something like that for a person to have to, or be in a position to be able to slow down and actually reflect on their life and maybe what they've done, and it's. But it was a good exercise for me to be able to do that and to be able to reconnect with people that I really felt like I needed to reconnect with. And, because you just don't know, am I going to see them again? So you start to have all those things that creep into your head, and, and I think it makes you a better person because you're doing some of the things that maybe you find yourself too busy to do, but you make yourself do them. And I've really tried to make sure I stayed like that after I was well, that I didn't revert back to the old me where I just am consumed with one thing and one thing only. And it's just going to work, coming home, sleeping, and going back to work. And, I really tried to make sure that I spend more time connecting with people and, and telling those people what I think of them, so that they know, because there's a lot of people in my life that have done a lot of really cool shit and, have inspired me or whatever. And I want them to know that, so I really tried to continue that and still do that today. So.
Awesome, man. You got it heavy as hell in here, Rick. But it's an inspiring story. But what do you say that we lighten it up and we start wrapping this sucker up here with some rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. This is just silly stuff. First thing that comes to mind. And so this one just popped into my head because I know you're a bird enthusiast.
Yeah.
What's your favorite bird?
My favorite bird? Oh, shit. Oh, God. And he stumped me right out the gate.
I didn't think that'd be the hardest one. What was the last bird that you documented then?
Well, I'm looking out my window right now. I see a whole bunch of them. I see a red-breasted nuthatch. I see a cardinal. I see a white-breasted nuthatch. I've got so many birds in the neighborhood. I feed them. I feed them a buffet every day. So, but yeah, I go out and photograph a lot of birds, and I've seen a lot of really cool birds. Probably my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite, is probably the green heron. I just think they're so fun to watch when they're hunting, and how quiet they can stalk up, and
You come to my neighborhood, you're just going to see crows and gulls. That's it. So, let's see. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book, probably anything by Tom Clancy. The Hunt for Red October was probably my favorite. It was the first one I read of his, and I think that one just sticks in my mind. But yeah, Tom Clancy was, what a loss when he died, because every book he wrote was just edge of my seat. Like I could read a whole novel and nothing but bathroom breaks.
What's your favorite song to sing when you're by yourself? Because I know you do.
I probably you're gonna find this funny as shit, but probably stuff by Eminem. My music genres, I'm pretty much anything but country, and it's funny
because in the conversation, right?
Yeah, okay, conversation. I for whatever reason, I just have never been able to connect to the country music, and I live in the country, but
I'll send you some good stuff.
I've been a anything from classic rock to some of the early rap to hip hop. I'm whatever, but yeah, I probably
can see you rolling down the street in your RTD headband on your bike, just blaring some Eminem from a little Bluetooth speaker.
For sure.
What is
that's a true story.
What's your favorite sound?
My favorite sound?
Answer.
Yeah, probably. I'm totally honest. This is gonna sound really stupid as hell, but my favorite sound is probably my alarm clock going off in the morning, because I know I've got another day ahead of me.
Awesome. What's your least favorite sound?
My least favorite sound, probably the sound of overhead speakers in the doctor's office, just because it reminds me of everything I went through, and I just hate hearing, yeah. You've got a host of them here. What's your proudest moment? My proudest moment, probably when my son asked me to be his best man at his wedding.
That's amazing. Your most embarrassing moment?
Most embarrassing. I don't usually. Probably actually have, this is gonna sound stupid as hell too, but probably having to stand and ask my wife to take my pictures when I first started DDP, because I look back at those things and I think, how the fuck did you become that?
It's humbling, man, but you got to do it to appreciate the progress.
Yeah, and for sure. I think that was, even in front of my own wife, I thought this is embarrassing. So,
what's your favorite smell?
Pizza.
Your least favorite smell?
Again, probably the smell. Probably my least favorite smell is actually probably the smell of a nursing home. I was one thing when I have to respond to nursing home calls. They just have that smell to them that just. Yeah.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
Here, have some more.
And what's the best advice you've ever received? Best advice.
Best advice. Probably to follow my dreams. I was, and that's kind of tied to, I think I was becoming burned out working in public safety, and I really was scared to take that leap to go to the college where I was, and somebody just told me if that's what you want to do, follow your dream, and that's what I did, and it's 20 years ago, and I'm not looking back. I'm happy as hell.
Awesome. So. Well, the last thing that we ask our guests to do is to pick a member of the DDPY community to give a little shout out to that you think deserves a attaboy, and give us a little bit of why.
I think, and I want to give a shout out to so many people, but it's got to be Mark DeSico. Mark will probably never know how much, he's meant to me over the last, 6 months, actually probably 4 months, because it was a couple months in when you were the one who actually turned me on to RTD Fitness, but Mark has opened doors for me, and he's been so welcoming, as he is to anybody who comes, into his space, and but just through him meeting other people, and being able to know guys like Kevin Murray and C-Payne and Billy Sloan, and I just and doing what he does, and not asking for anything for it, and just yeah.
But I agree. That's a good friggin' dude that you picked right there.
He's the real deal, and there's so many others, and I mentioned a few of them earlier, but it's just a great community. It's hard to single one out, but Mark, if I got to sing one out, Mark's the man. He's the guy.
All right. Well, this has been my favorite yet, Rick, because Thanks. I learned a hell of a lot.
And my favorite too.
I feel sorry for whoever the hell has to follow yours. But
everybody's got a great story. These have been great. I just got done watching Jeremy's last night, and I mean, that guy, what a dude. I mean, he just, but they've all been great.
All good. There's not a bad. There will never be a bad one, because everybody's got a great story. And like I said, if you don't like it, come fight me. Right?
Yeah, right.
I don't care. Don't watch it. Scroll on, bitch. So, all right. Last thing, Rick, here to close us out. Give us a bang.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Bang.
All right. Don't forget to do this tomorrow.
All right.
Perfect. God damn it, Rick. You got me choked up, you son of a bitch.